There is a moment, right after someone you trusted breaks that trust, when the smartest people in the room say absolutely nothing, not because they have no words, not because they are weak, but because they have already seen something you have not seen yet. And by the time you understand what they understood in that silence, the damage will already be done to someone else, not to them. Betrayal has a sound. It is not loud. It is quiet, almost polite, dressed in a smile, wrapped in an explanation that sounds reasonable. And the tragedy is this: the people who see it clearest are usually the ones who say the least about it. Why? Why does the person who understands the betrayal completely often become the one who reacts to it the least? This is not weakness. This is not fear. This is something far darker, far older, and far more powerful than most people will ever understand. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand why intelligent people go quiet, you will start noticing it everywhere. In your family, in your friendships, in your workplace, in your own history. And you will realize something uncomfortable. The silence was never empty. It was full of a decision that changed everything, and nobody around them even noticed it happening. Let us start with a hard truth. When you are betrayed by someone close to you, your first instinct is to explain. To confront, to demand they admit what they did. You want them to feel your pain the way you feel it. You want an apology that matches the size of the wound. This is normal. This is human. But it is also the exact reaction that keeps most people trapped in cycles of betrayal for their entire lives. Because here is what the intelligent person understands before anyone else in the room. Explanation requires an audience capable of understanding. And the person who betrayed you in that moment is not capable of understanding. If they were, they would not have done what they did. You cannot reason someone into feeling shame they are not built to feel. You cannot argue someone into the guilt they should already have. Words thrown at a person who lacks the conscience to receive them do not land. They just echo back at you, distorted, twisted into your fault somehow, and you walk away carrying more weight than you started with. This is the first secret behind the silence. It is not submission, it is calculation. The intelligent mind runs a quiet, brutal equation in seconds. Will speaking change anything? Or will it simply hand this person new material to use against me later? And more often than people admit, the answer is the second one. Think about the last time you were genuinely betrayed. Not disappointed, betrayed. A friend who spoke about you the moment you left the room. A partner who lied while looking you directly in the eyes. A colleague who took credit for what kept you awake at night building. Did explaining yourself in that moment actually change the outcome? Or did it simply give them a new script, new lines to quote back to others? New proof that you are too sensitive, too dramatic. Always making things complicated? This is the trap almost nobody talks about. Betrayal is rarely a single event. It is a test. And your reaction is the actual subject being tested, not the betrayal itself. The person who hurt you is not just watching to see if you noticed. They are watching to see how you handle noticing. And if you explode, if you defend, if you beg for acknowledgement, you have just given them the exact information they needed to betray you again. More carefully next time. This is why the silence is not empty. It is data collection. It is protection. It is a mind refusing to hand over its next move for free. But there is something deeper here, something almost nobody says out loud because it sounds cruel, even though it is simply true. Intelligent people stay silent after betrayal because they understand that some relationships were never what they appear to be. The betrayal did not create the truth. It only revealed it. And once revealed, arguing about it is like arguing with a mirror. Arguing with the reflection it shows you is pointless, painful, a waste of the only currency you can never get back. Your time and your peace. Stay silent, stay wise, and move forward. There is a certain kind of pain that comes not from being betrayed but from realizing you spent years defending someone who was never on your side to begin with. And that pain does something strange to a sharp mind. It does not make it loud. It makes it still. Because loud people are trying to convince someone else of the truth. Still people have already accepted it, and acceptance does not need an audience. Now here is where the deeper layer begins. The part most people never reach because they stop at, why don't they say anything? And never ask the harder question. What exactly are they doing instead? Silence, for the intelligent person, is not the end of the response. It is the beginning of the real one. While the betrayer expects tears, apologies demanded, dramatic confrontations, screenshots sent to mutual friends, the intelligent mind is doing something else entirely. It is quietly withdrawing resources, attention, access, information, emotional investment. Trust that took years to build gets slowly, silently dismantled, brick by brick, without a single announcement. By the time the betrayer realizes what has happened, the door is not just closed. It was never reopened, and they were the last one to note it. This is the part that terrifies people who betray others without expecting consequences. They expect a war they can fight, argue, manipulate their way out of. What they get instead is disappearance. Not physical, necessarily. Sometimes the person is still there, still polite, still present at the dinner table, or in the group chat. But something essential has left the room, and no explanation was given, because none was owed. Think about power for a moment. Real power. Not the loud kind that shouts and threatens. The quiet kind that simply stops needing you. The moment you stop reacting to someone's betrayal out loud, you take back something they thought they controlled, your emotional response. And without your emotional response, they have nothing left to manipulate. This is why manipulators hate silence more than anger. Anger can be used against you. Silence gives them nothing to work with. There is a darker layer still. Some intelligent people stay silent not because they have already left emotionally, but because they are still deciding. And this uncertainty is the most dangerous phase of all, because it means the door is not fully shut. This is where many wise people make their one costly mistake, mistaking someone's silence for peace, when it was only patience running out slowly, privately, without permission asked from anyone. Because here is a brutal truth nobody wants tattooed on their memory but should be: silence has a limit. It is not infinite. It is not unconditional. Every quiet moment after betrayal is a withdrawal from an account that eventually reaches zero. And when it does, the exit is not dramatic. It is simply final. No warning shot. No last chance offered. Just an absence where a person used to be, and by the time you notice, it is already too late to negotiate your way back in. This is why intelligent people are often accused cruelly of being cold or distant after betrayal, when in reality they were protecting the last version of respect they still had for the relationship. Screaming, crying, begging, these things preserve the connection by keeping it alive through conflict. Silence, on the other hand, quietly closes the account and starts moving the furniture out before anyone even notices the walls are bare. Now, let us go somewhere even more uncomfortable. Because this is not just about them. This is about you. If you have ever stayed silent after being betrayed, and later felt guilty for it, as if you should have said something, I want you to sit with something important. Your silence was never a failure of courage. It was often the only intelligent response available in a conversation that was rigged from the start. You cannot win an argument with someone who has already decided your pain is not their problem. You cannot shame someone into decency who never had the architecture for it. Trying to do so is like demanding color from someone who is born without sight in that particular way. The intelligent response was never to make them see. It was to make sure you saw clearly enough to never be caught in the same position twice. This is the brutal wisdom hidden underneath all of this. Betrayal is not really about the other person. Betrayal is a mirror held up to your own boundaries, your own blind spots. Why did I not see this sooner? Why did I make excuses for behavior I would never accept from a stranger? Why did I need this person's approval so badly that I ignored what my own instincts were screaming at me for months, maybe years? These are not comfortable questions. And that is exactly why so few people ask them out loud. It is far easier to make noise about someone else's betrayal than to sit quietly with your own complicity, and allowing it to continue as long as it did. The intelligent person does both. They withdraw from the betrayer, and simultaneously, they turn inward with a brutal, unglamorous honesty most people spend their entire lives avoiding. And here is the twist almost nobody sees coming. The layer that changes everything you thought you understood about this topic so far. The silence is not really for the betrayer at all. It never was. The silence is a form of self-respect that does not need to announce itself. Because explaining your pain to someone who caused it on purpose is, in a strange way, still asking for their approval. Still hoping they will finally understand, finally apologize the way you need them to, finally become the person you always wished they were. Every explanation is a small plea. Please see me, please feel what I feel. Please prove I was not foolish for trusting you. Silence is what happens the moment you stop asking that question altogether. Not because you found peace instantly. Peace almost never arrives instantly, but because you finally accepted that the answer was never going to come from them. It was only ever going to come from you, deciding what you deserved, and refusing to keep negotiating for it out loud with someone who had already shown you their answer through their actions. If someone has betrayed you and you find yourself staying quiet, do not mistake that silence for weakness, and do not let anyone convince you that it is. Silence, chosen deliberately, is one of the most powerful decisions a wounded person can make. It says, without a single word, I understand exactly what you did. I understand exactly who you are. And I no longer need you to understand it back. But remember the warning hidden inside all of this too. Do not let silence become a permanent home. Use it to observe, to withdraw, to protect, to plan your next move with clarity instead of chaos. But eventually, walk back into the world with people who have earned your voice again. Because the goal was never to become someone who trusts no one. The goal was always to become someone who trusts wisely, speaks when it matters, and stays silent only when silence is the sharper blade. Betrayal will always try to convince you that you were foolish for trusting at all. Do not believe it. The mistake was never trusting. The mistake was trusting without watching closely enough. Fix the watching. Do not destroy the trusting. Because a life spent trusting no one is not safety. It is simply a slower, quieter kind of loneliness, dressed up as wisdom. So the next time someone betrays you and you feel the words rising in your throat, demanding explanation, demanding apology, demanding acknowledgement, pause. Ask yourself the question intelligent people have asked themselves quietly for centuries. Will speaking change this person, or will it only reveal my next move to someone who already showed me exactly who they are? Sometimes the most powerful thing you will ever say to the person who betrayed you is nothing at all. And the silence you leave behind will speak far louder, far longer, and far more permanently than any argument ever could.